Oh, hi there. Hey, new settings, new background. I have a bed and everything. Look, I have a bed. I have a bed, and like as you can see, there's coats and stuff. I was just reading through my contract. You can see the Chinese characters there. Um, because I haven't paid my rent this month, so I was trying to get a vibe for how long I can get away with this. And apparently, all they can do is, you know, repossess the leased property and forfeit the deposit if Party B commits failure to pay rental. Yada yada yada. But luckily, I have three other people, so they'll have to kick them all out too. I think maybe. I think maybe. I don't know. Um, and then I thought, wait, I pay my rent when I can, but these people literally live off other people paying for space, So some may call me a freeloader, but then I may also be liable to call them freeloaders if I was going that, you know, if I was feeling that communist on the day. We are in China. Uh, but then I realized, me calling them out is not enough of an excuse for me not paying my rent. It's merely just a further observation and does not necessarily excuse me from paying my rent. Yeah. So, this could be the first and maybe the last video in this room. Probably not the last. I intend to pay my rent. You know what I mean? Anyway, hi, hello. Um, this is IVI's YouTube channel where I discuss things and normally political, social issues and whatnot. Um, we're gonna keep it shorter these days because Chinese internet through a VPN. What's a VPN? What? Um, it's dubious. So short thoughts, we can call it. Um, I was doing reading and stuff about. I just looked up the concept of nation states, just revising political philosophy stuff, and I came across an article. I'll probably link it below. An article about Israel and its nation state, for example, and about how. And one of the points that was brought up in the article was that this kind of Jewish particularism is called out by many, and it said that no one calls out the Muslim particularism of Saudi Arabia, which is just false, to be honest. I mean, people have been known to call Saudi Arabia the ISIS that made it. Yeah, so in both situations, there's quite a obvious particularist advantage to being Jewish or Muslim in the respective countries. And then the article pointing out this issue that people call out Israel, but don't call out Saudi Arabia, which even if it was false, even if it was true, even if it was the case, would not obviously absolve the powers that be in Israel from the extent of their particularism and their atrocious treatment of certain parties, particularly being the Muslim Palestinians next door inside their communities, for example. And I think it's key to not. I mean, maybe the key thing here is not to measure oneself against a country like Saudi Arabia, which is notoriously called out for its human rights issues. And then it made me think of Saudi Arabia as well. Is used as an example by, say, for example, religious British nationalists and probably other European religious nationalists who say, in Saudi Arabia, they don't let us build churches or whatever, or they don't treat Muslims the same. Why should we, let them build churches and, have self-determination in our land that we claim to be so great, such as Britain? And then it's kind of weird and almost paradoxical. If we're going to make this argument, and often these religious nationalists would obviously be likely to believe that, their respective countries, say Britain or France or whatever, is better than Saudi Arabia. Why do we call out Saudi Arabia as if they're supposed to be on par with us in human rights? I mean, Britain has issues, but at least it doesn't have those particular issues. And I think it's forcing this narrative that we must be particularist for this reason alone, or this is part of the reason that, you know, they don't do it, so why should we do it? Why should we seek to treat people as complete three-dimensional persons and as equals if they don't have the same religion as us, you know? And this is quite a dangerous mindset to go down, you know, in a sense of, let's say, you know, why should we offer, I used to say the Stormzy thing, how Stormzy is offering scholarships to black students to Cambridge, thus eliminating their debt and not really doing anything else for them, just eliminating their student tuition fee debt, which is nice, I guess. And it goes to that question of why should we only promote black people, you know, because, you know, they didn't promote us for all these years, let's say the institution or, you know, the colonial powers, you know, so why should we be pushed to promote anyone but black people? But then Stormzy never said that. He just wanted to help a couple black kids alleviate some debt. And anyone who wants to help any kids, particularly those who are you know, if you ignore like things like social factors and social issues like racial issues and historical racial issues, would be held back. You know, those in the working class, those in more rural regions, you know, with less travel and transport. So even the universities that they would feasibly think to travel to are harder to reach. If you want to have some kind of connection back with your home or whatever, let's say you live in Cornwall, for example, you know, maybe there should be someone else. You know, someone joked on Twitter saying maybe Ed Sheeran should help out the poor white kids or poor, but you know, it's, anyway, I'm going on a tangent. A key thing here, I feel, is just particularism is risky, especially in nation states, because it's a question of who really qualifies for it, and all these issues of to what extent are we going to say we're not going to let people have self-determination in their social circles, i.e. what Saudi Arabia does, all places that have a clear gap between, you know, Jews and non-Jews, Muslims and non-Muslims. Or are we going to just say, oh, you know, if you're a citizen, you get a couple benefits? And I feel particularism should be benefits only. It should be 0 to 1 rather than 0 to -1. Like, you shouldn't lose the ability to practice religion openly, for example. You should only gain from particularism. You know, like I go on and on about positive and negative privileges. So, you know, being a British national, you should only get the positive privileges. Let's say the ease of travel through the EU, as opposed to the negative privileges that are created because, you know, you're allowed to practice your religion but someone else isn't. You know, so it's a privilege created through someone else's deficit, direct deficit, rather than lack of privilege, i.e. accessing the single market easily or whatever, you know what I mean? But yeah, you know, let's avoid using historically dubious examples as a basis for our own morality, especially when it's much more serious situations. Like if someone said something like, you know, for example, I'm a teacher, you know, so a kid will be talking and I'll be like, focus. And then he'll be like, maybe in English or Chinese, but he was also talking, or he's running around too, you know. And it's the question of, in that situation, yeah, you're right, he's also running around, but what are you doing? You know, what are you doing to better yourself? You know, but at least in this situation, it's 2 kids in a classroom, which is notably much more trivial compared to, you know, how human beings are treated and how, you know, and their protections and their rights to just being. So maybe this logic might work in the classroom, but even then it's a stretch. But when you start talking about, you know, people's rights and protections, then, you know, it gets really, really, really silly. You know, that's my opinion. But yeah, regardless, you know, thank you for watching, and I hope we can discuss and have set of boundaries for ourselves than, you know, the ISIS that made it. How about that? You know?